It happened again. Another incident involving an unruly fan at a major sporting event. This time, a man running onto the court, interrupting play at this NBA playoff game between the Wizards and the 76ers. Before you can see, he was tackled by a security guard and then hauled away. He is now banned from the Capital One Arena. But this is the fifth time in a week that we have seen unruly behavior at a game. A Celtics fan threw a water bottle at Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving, and Atlanta Hawks guard Trae Young was spit on by a fan in New York. Let's bring in Jemele Hill. She is a contributing writer at The Atlantic, also the host of the Jemele Hill Is Bothered podcast and co-host of the show Stick to Sports. It's good to have you with us. What is going on here? Why do you think there have been so many incidents?
Well, I think a lot of these incidents were kind of always lurking beneath the surface, but I think we've just seen a real prevalence of them. Obviously, lately, we're all getting back to normal because of the pandemic and restrictions being lifted, and not that this is in any way normal, but I think it's just part of an ever-growing problem of the fact that there is a deep sense of entitlement, and not in a good way, that fans feel when they come to sporting events. Now, as we know, sporting events are costing more and more money. There's a huge sports bubble in terms of financial interest, and because a lot of times these games cost a lot of money, and just of our consumption in the culture of sports, period, people think that athletes belong to them and that they are entitled when they go to these games to say anything to them, to do anything to them, and to become part of the action. They don't understand you're a spectator. You're a paying customer that does not give you the right to personally violate anyone else's space.
Exactly. Athletes have addressed what's happening, and there's been a suggestion that there is a racial component involved here. Let's listen.
It's been that way in history in terms of entertainment and performers and sports for a long period of time, of just underlying racism and just treating people like they're in a human zoo, throwing stuff at people, saying things. There's a certain point where it just gets to be too much.
Jemele, what did you make of that?
I think there's a lot of truth to what he said, and he's right. Historically, this has been the case. Now, this is not to suggest that white athletes have not been subjected to verbal or physical abuse from fans, but there is a different level of it when it comes to black athletes. I mean, we have a situation where you have a sport like the NBA, which is 75% black. You have mostly white spectators, mostly white owners. And so there's a dynamic there of ownership, both real and implied in their minds, that sometimes leads to these tensions. I mean, you have athletes who are making a lot of money, and there's a lot of jealousy from fans of the kind of money that they're making. And when you add in the racial component of the fact that there's a lot of people who feel as if, these black athletes, all they should do is entertain me and be here to fulfill my sense of entitlement, it gives it a layer and an extra edge. And, Kyrie Irving is exactly right. Historically, this has always been the case.
Does the league need to put more space between players and fans? Do they need harsher punishments? How do we fix it?
I think harsher punishment is a way to go. I think that these incidents, fans should not only be banned from that arena, but probably all arenas. I think as you press more criminal charges, you may see more of a deterrence. I'd like to think that this is just a weird aberration and not a sign of things to come, because at this point, the league, they have every opportunity to deal with this. We saw what happened when it was the reverse situation and players went into the stands, which again was incited by a fan doing something they had that they had no business doing. And so unless they want to create a situation where you have a full-on confrontation, I mean, what happened in D.C., lucky that fan got tackled, because if they made it to the court and these guys are vulnerable and feel the need to protect themselves, then you're going to get a really ugly situation. So these leagues really better get a handle on this before something even worse happens.